So he predicted 9/11. He predicted.
No, he didn't.
Did Russia's invasion of Donbass and
No, he didn't.
Ukraine.
Do you know what Alex Jones was saying? Because right now they love saying that Alex Jones predicted that Putin was going to invade Ukraine. He was saying that a war with China was about to break out. So we used to call him the Alex Jones of the left. And now he's just Alex Jones. Because, like, it's one thing to make one video that's like this. How did he know? How did he know? But then another one. And then another one. In like the past couple days, he has 3 Alex Jones videos. All about Alex Jones being right. And I mean, those are peppered in between Tucker Carlson's awesome and, you know, the QAnon shaman actually is a hero kind of shit. But yeah, they're all so excited.
So look at this. Tucker interviewed Alex Jones the other day. By the way, got him reinstated back on. We should do that next.
Right.
Got him reinstated back on Twitter's, and I'm not calling it X.
Yeah, I'm dead naming it. I'm calling it Twitter.
That's right. We're dead naming it.
It's really funny they came up with that joke, and they're the first ones to think of it. That was clever. Yeah, that's the first time on the internet I've heard that. Neat.
Kurt says, I'm going so far as I'm not even saying Malcolm X anymore.
Malcolm Twitter.
Alex Jones is a better comedian than him. It's true. Yeah, I mean, Alex Jones is a disgusting, homophobic, transphobic, white supremacist who says some of the worst things in the world. But you got to give him credit where Jimmy has none, is that he is actually naturally just by himself funny, because he is just like a silly, funny white supremacist guy who's, they're going to come in for us, we have to take the Thorazine out of the water.
That's right.
The great Malcolm Twitter.
The great Malcolm
Oh,
Twitter.
he's so entertaining. Yeah, I can't take that away from him.
So here, but he played this clip during that interview. Look at all the predictions that Alex Jones actually got right.
Of September, that the new policy's being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden,
he's the boogeyman they need. We're looking at a giant...
How the hell?
How did he do that? It's just like, it's incredible. It's like if you took a clip of someone and they speak for, say, 4 hours a day, and then you cut and pasted parts that you think line up with actually what happened. They feel like a savant, don't they? Like a Nostradamus. It's like almost like a trick. Because again, if you were to take any one of Alex Jones' broadcasts, you would see the hundreds, if not thousands, of false statements, outright lies, things he got wrong, things he doesn't even understand, concepts that he wants to talk about that are based in truth, like, oh, did you know about a false flag attack? Yeah, apparently the United States, in their precursor to be able to invade Vietnam, they stated they were actually attacked, by a Vietnamese sub, but that actually didn't happen, because what actually happened is the sub was actually filled with a whole bunch of brain chemicals that turns the people gay. It's like, you got like a quarter of that right, I guess. You're close, but like, yeah, all conspiracy theorists love talking about actual false flag attacks or all actual historical events, because it props up their pseudo-history and then revisionist history and then complete conspiracy theories that they like to spew. Alex Jones wasn't getting any of this information firsthand, by the way. Again, listen to Knowledge Fights. You'll find a long list of all the people that Alex Jones was basically plagiarizing from, taking a lot of their cues. Osama bin Laden at that point had been a well-known ex-asset, an ex-friend of the CIA, someone who was deeply connected to his father, Mohammed bin Laden at the time, who was not part of the Saudi royal family, but had connections with the Saudi royal family. He came from a very wealthy background, had a lot of training and education as a result of that, and then he became increasingly alienated with the United States as he saw Saudi Arabia continue to partner with the United States, and a further military presence in Saudi Arabia is what further radicalized him and eventually led him to create Al-Qaeda. Again, very interesting, fascinating stuff you would think that like a conspiracy theorist would want to learn about, and was well known at that point to be, again, an enemy of the United States as a result of multiple actions that Al-Qaeda had taken. That's not like in any way that he predicted 9/11, you know?
So he predicted 9/11. He predicted.
No, he didn't.
Did Russia's invasion of Donbass and.
No, he didn't.
Ukraine.
Do you know what Alex Jones was saying? Because right now they love saying that Alex Jones predicted that Putin was going to invade Ukraine. He was saying that a war with China was about to break out at the time. Again, listen to Knowledge Fights. They break it down piece by piece. No, Alex Jones did not predict that Russia was eventually going to invade the Donbass and Ukraine. Amongst the many things he did say or speculate, like many people did, that the official story by the United States was not true, or that the intelligence coming out of the United States was not true, as I myself thought, because of all the lies the U.S. had been feeding us for so long. Why in the world would the U.S. intelligence suddenly be revealing things that turned out to be completely accurate? That was just us playing on the fact that they'd lied so much to get into multiple wars or fund wars or being proxy wars that a lot of people were very dubious about what the U.S. intelligence was releasing at the time. I turned out to be completely wrong on that. It turned out Russia did eventually invade Ukraine. And so, hey, guess what? I can say that out loud. I was wrong. The U.S. intelligence was right in this case. I should have, not said that, or I should have, at a certain point, or I have, in fact, accepted that. Alex Jones has not, because he doesn't do that. He doesn't sit there and say, all right, everybody, now your favorite segment, Alex Jones was wrong. This, of course, is a very long segment. It usually takes about anywhere from 48 to 72 hours to do a 4-hour show, but we have to do it in the interest of being, transparent. So here we go. None of that. That does not exist. And guess what? We didn't actually go to a nuclear war with China. I'm talking about we as in the West. So that just never happened. So Alex Jones was actually wrong again.
But I've never had misinformation in anything I've ever shared on Facebook. They're the ones who are the liars. They're the ones who are funded by billionaire class and Bill Gates. And so that's the beauty of what you're doing, is there won't be someone like Bill Gates controlling what you say, or Jeff Bezos, or any other handful, or Klaus Schwab, or
Why are you ending billionaires tomorrow? How does this work? Simply by giving you money, people are going to get the unadulterated truth. I want everyone to know you could actually get it for free from Gray Zone, because a lot of you just parrot Gray Zone conspiracy theories.
the WEF controlling you. So you'll be, then that's what scares them, right? So aren't you afraid that they're going to come for you?
Of course they are. But if you just take 3 steps back, it's sort of remarkable.
Oh shit, he's actually interviewing Tucker Carlson. I thought he was just playing video clips from him. No, he's here. All right. My oh my, how we've come so far. If you're curious, by the way, why is it that people like Jimmy Dore, leftist that he is, or Max Blumenthal, leftist that he is, or all of these people who seem to be in the whole clown shoes bozo left, are suddenly aligning very hardly with the far right, and also trying to downplay them doing so, saying as in oh well, hey, Glenn Greenwald said that Tucker Carlson's a socialist, so he must be. Jimmy Dore interviewed Tucker Carlson, and he says he just wants to go after the elites. Isn't that what the left wants too? Isn't that what Marx talked about? Yeah, and stop the globalists or something. There's a specter of globalism haunting Europe. That's what he wrote about, right? That's what the Communist Manifesto is about. If you listen to the recent episode of It Could Happen Here, they go into the history of Max Blumenthal and how he actually, post-Occupy movement, used to be a very hard line, hey, I'm against the war criminal Bashir al-Assad and what he's doing to his own population and stuff. And then shortly afterwards, especially after having several meetings, and there's conspiracies that those meetings that were some of the meetings that actually directly fund the Gray Zone. We don't know how the Gray Zone is funded because we don't have transparency in that regard, which is also kind of weird for a quote-unquote leftist organization. And we've seen the amount of conspiracy theories that the Gray Zone spreads and gets wrong. They get some things right, as anyone who, again, publishes lots of articles will, but then they also spread tons and tons of things, like trying to do apologia for, again, the war crimes of Bashir al-Assad and what he does. But a lot of the stuff on this end, at the end, there's this question. Why is it that so much of the post-Occupy left are now trying to align themselves so readily with the far right? And they propose this, that your audience, if you are just a leftist, or if you're trying to appeal to people who are leftists, is limited. There's a limited amount of reach and growth that you can get to. There are only so many leftists in the West who are willing to want to consume purely leftist content, or content only focused on, again, talking about material conditions, talking about oppression, class oppression, all that kind of stuff. So you do need to branch out. And so there's 2 different directions you can branch out into. You can try branching out more towards liberals, and then in order to appeal to liberals or liberalism or neoliberalism, you will begin to speak oftentimes about, say, some of the positive things that Democrats can do, or why there are certain certain instances in which, yes, we have to align or defend what NATO is doing because they are trying, in this case uniquely, I know there's been bad ones, but this case uniquely, they're actually trying to do a good thing here. So maybe we'll do that. But you can't do that if a couple things are in place. One, if you hate the same social issues as the right does, then you have to align with them. If it deeply disturbs you to have to try and learn anything about the science behind, say, trans people or homosexuals or anything like that, if they're icky to you or if that's gross, well, then most likely you're a social conservative who doesn't want to have to deal with them at all. You don't have to deal with this whole, like, what, science is showing us that there are multiple sexes. Sex is on a spectrum. What the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. This is gross. I don't like this. I want to keep women's sports for women, and I care so much about women's sports now. I'm going to talk about that. So that's the reason why a lot of those people, they start appealing to expand their audiences to the right. And they can't do so all the way. They have to do the Russell Brand of it all, you know, and kind of take a step back a bit and be like, you know, while I don't completely agree with you, and I certainly don't like Trump, I do, agree with a lot of what you say. And I think that there's a very important discussion to be had here. There's a difference between saying, hey, by the way, ultimately, if you're trying to appeal to a lot of people or you're trying to advocate for something, that this applies regardless if you are a Republican or Democrat, a liberal or conservative, a libertarian or an ANPRIM. What I'm trying to say to you right now is that all human beings deserve to have equal access to healthcare. That's what I'm talking about. So that kind of messaging, that's different than saying, hey, by the way, maybe Alex Jones isn't as bad as everyone thinks. A lot of people use words like white supremacist and stuff like that, or racist, but that's just like, that's what liberals say. Liberals say that when they just want to get rid of what the ideas of the people are truly saying, because the ideas are what scare them. So they shut down conversation, they shut down free speech, they shut down the discourse, and instead all they do is they call names, they throw names out, and that's what they do, and that's why they're really evil. And if you've got a person like Jimmy Dore, his entire career is just shitting on Democrats. Doesn't matter who. If you have the Democratic fucking badge on your shoulder, you're fundamentally a fascist or evil or Hitler or something like that. Doesn't matter if you happen to have a lifelong career of much better, like, you know, public advocacy, say like Bernie Sanders, than Jimmy Dore can only dream. Yes, he was doing that as an independent, but now he's doing it as a Democrat. But even then, Bernie Sanders is a fascist warmonger who's actually part of the deep, machine and all that kind of stuff. The truth will only come to you in the form of podcasting from Jimmy Dore. Or if it's Glenn Greenwald, it'll only come to you in the form of Glenn Greenwald. I am the only truth teller. I'm the only one willing to tell you like it is. And at the end of the day, Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones are not as bad as everyone's told you. Those are lies by the deep state and the globalists, so you got to believe that. And if you truly want the truth unfiltered every single day, subscribe to me. I'm the only one, all right? Don't think about the fact that my channels are actually overseen by Alphabet and that at any given day they could shut me down. Because guess what? I'll be on Rumble tomorrow. I'll go on Rumble and I'll keep telling you the truth as long as you keep subscribing. And I'm the only person willing to tell it to you. Me and every other person who has the exact same fucking bit right now, you know? Is there a difference between the truth that you get on Russell Brand, Jimmy Dore, Tucker Carlson, or are they all just fucking feeding each other in this endless cycle right now?
Wound up in a country where billionaires control everything. I mean, I was naive. I assumed, billionaires would be sort of off in their own private world, literally on their private boats, with their harems, beating their servants with their canes or whatever, doing whatever they do. But I never imagined a world where they would determine what I was allowed to think about the medicine I take. I mean, that's a level of control enabled only by technology. It's a new thing that has no precedent in human history. I mean, the feudal lord did not exercise that kind of power. I mean, famously, he could sleep with your wife on your wedding night or whatever, but he could not tell you.
What? To feudalism we must return, because then you didn't have that evil vaccine. The vaccines didn't even exist. We didn't even have a germ theory of disease. Things were better back then, simpler. Back then, all you had to really do is, if you had resources and money and you were part of the aristocracy, well, then you could have access to one of the many doctors who could apply leeches to your cock, and then they'd drain all the blood from it, and that would get rid of all the ghosts that are inside you. Better time, better life. Get rid of those ghosts.
What to think, and didn't try. And so this is like a new thing, and everyone should be mad about it. No one's mad about it, weirdly. We lionize these people, but we should be afraid. And yeah, of course they're going to come for me. I mean, but I've been through that before. The best I can do is just the best I can do, I guess.
Everyone's mad about it. No one likes the way that fucking social media manipulates all of us and that we're all so hopelessly addicted. We can't stop it, but we can complain about it on the very same social medias that fucking ruin our lives. It's just none of you want to apply any kind of critique that looks at, say, capitalism, because you depend on capitalism to keep this whole fucking
Doctor, I should bring out a
Okay, so this is just a full-blown fucking talk. I thought this was more. I thought he was going to go into a deeper analysis. All right, sorry, one sec. I want to see the other Alex Jones video, because apparently he's always right. He called it, or he's back. Maybe he's back. Let's see this.
Journalists also, and it culminated with the censoring of a former president of the country. It was.
I like his source in this. The good source. Good source to go to. Trusted source.
So already, police enforcement for that. There's already state's attorneys in every state. Why didn't they go ahead and put him in jail for that if he was breaking a law and he was going against the First Amendment? Either he's breaking the First Amendment and going outside the bounds of the Constitution, or he isn't.
And since when does the press care about grieving parents?
I hate having to do this every stream, but First Amendment. Should just read it out loud, because I think it's important. The First Amendment provides the Congress make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting its free exercise. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Again, the purpose of the First Amendment, and it's a good one, is that the government shall pass no laws. The government shall pass no laws that infringe upon the freedom of the press. As in, you have the right, under the democracy of the United States, to be able to criticize your government, and you never have to worry about government passing a law that takes away a political institution's ability to do so. Does that absolve you of people suing you in civil court for, say, defamation, libel? It does not. It does not absolve you for that. Does it suddenly say that corporations, companies that are publishing houses or publishing companies suddenly get to decide or not decide what or they want to or not publish? It does not. A private company, a magazine stand, a store, a social media company, a YouTube, all of them, they decide at any given time, and they have the right because you sign up for it via a TOS. You sign a contract saying, yes, they have this right to be able to terminate your shit, and they don't even have to give you a reason. I know. It's happened twice to me. So, yeah, I know firsthand what it's like when a company just suddenly says, nope, no more, turns it off. There's no free speech battle for me to be had. I can't go to the United States, spend fucking millions of dollars, try to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. I will lose. Any lawyer worth fucking, half a cent will tell me, you can pay me to do this, but you will not win. There's nothing to be won. You signed this contract.
Only
being harassed.
Only with Seth Rich. Only with Seth Rich. That you could show in front of John Kennedy Jr. his father's head getting blown off at the drop of a hat. You could do that if you're. Let me explain. Niche social media thing. It's become the town square, and so the town square is like if I go into a park, I get to say whatever I want in the middle of that park, just like I get to say whatever I want in the middle of.
But you don't, right? You realize, Jimmy, if you walked into the middle of the town square and you started making like direct threats to people or fucking groups, or you started just doing the worst possible things in the world, most likely some of those are going to cross the line, right? You couldn't go into a children's park and start screaming about like which kids you're about to abuse, right? In addition to that, if you went into a town square and you started just saying a whole bunch of horrifying shit, like, hey, by the way, I'm Jimmy Dore, I deny the Holocaust and here's the reasons why, then everyone else has the freedom of speech to boo you or to yell at you or to be like, fuck you, motherfucker. That's the other part of the town square that everyone like wants to ignore. It's like, yes, I should have a right to my speech to say the things I see fit. Okay, but people also have a right to say fuck you, in the other direction. That's the part that often, like, even comedians, these snowflake comedians who are like, oh yeah, this guy's trying to cancel me by saying that he didn't like my set, fucking cuck. And it's like, he has a right to say he didn't like your set. Like, what, you're trying to cancel him? You're now going after him for having criticism of you.
Be allowed to say whatever I want in the middle of Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Those are now the town square, and so they have now. It should be treated as a public utility. That's what I'm saying. Just like you can't ban someone from using AT&T can't take away your telephone if they don't like what you're saying on the telephone. Mark Zuckerberg and Twitter say shouldn't be allowed to take away your social media presence because they don't like.
So here's why these two things are slightly different, but some of the points do remain. Now, if you want to talk about the public utility thing, okay, you're talking my jam. I'm on board. But the secondary part, there's a difference between having the ability to contact one person alone at any given time to talk to them about your day or to say terrible things. Sure, you can do that, and you're going to be doing it most likely privately between two parties. Huge difference between that and being able to go into a town square with a very large microphone, megaphone, and sound setup and start saying horrifying and vilifying things. Bigger difference between that still and having a social media platform that you have grown to the size of an empire. Sometimes these people have bigger broadcasting empires than local TV networks. Now, there was new media and new technology that has come up throughout human history in multiple different instances. First, there was the radio, and then after the radio, we got the black and white television. And in both instances, there were organizations, government organizations, that recognized that these devices, this form of communication, could have detrimental impacts if people were to believe mass hysteria. In the case of the War of the Worlds example, this one's really interesting because a lot of people think that the War of the Worlds by Orson Welles was read by Orson Welles, and a lot of people ended up believing that what he was saying was actually happening, that Martians were in real time invading Earth. Some people did believe it. That part is true. There were some people who did believe that when Orson Welles was doing the War of the Worlds, on the radio suddenly it was like, and now they're arriving here, they have their ray guns, oh my god, the horror, they're killing us all, it's happening in real time. There were some people who legitimately believed that. But what blew the whole thing up into a massive scandal was the press, because when the press reported on the fact that some people believed it, it suddenly became a massive hysteria, mass panic that, holy shit, like, this is terrible. Millions of people thought we were just attacked and invaded by aliens. What happens if the Ruskies were to use our communication devices and then suddenly say something and tell us all to, like, throw all our guns away, or suddenly to eat too much of the really bad food? We'd all do it. There would be mass panic. We should have some kind of regulations over this. There should be some government body that prevents, people from doing full-blown, I don't know, Holocaust denial and other incitements of violence on a massive radio station or stuff like that. So regulations are put in place for those kinds of media. Other kinds of media come up, and then other kind of regulations are put in place onto them. There's a big reason why you don't get to see erect penises on cable news, right? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever thought, hey, why have I never seen a man suddenly become erect on television? Well, because there's regulations put in place that certain kinds of things should be allowed to be exposed to multiple people on any given day on a widely utilized public network such as television, stuff like that. We have new technology now and new publishing houses, and in this case we have basically what feel like umbrella corporations of a whole bunch of different miniature media empires, and some of these people have massive reach. Massive reach. If you are a Joe Rogan, you have no oversight. There's no editorial team. There's Jamie. Like, fucking, this is a lot of pressure to put on fucking poor old Jamie. Jamie's in the corner there. And meanwhile, it's like, hey, by the way, 11 million people listen to every word fucking Joe Rogan's about to say. If he tells them all right now on his podcast that apparently this vaccine is dangerous and can hurt you, and a percentage of his population or listeners believe that, and that they don't get vaccinated and they die, well, then he could personally be responsible for hundreds, if not thousands, of deaths. That is risky. There's a risk there, and that risk is going to be put onto the public because these are products, after all. These are media companies, they're media publishing companies. So Spotify is not going to have to worry too much about if there is 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people who all die as a result of this kind of misinformation being spread. They're passing that off, those costs from the company onto the fucking consumer class, and the people who listen to it are the ones who have to incur the damaging effects or detrimental effects from misinformation being spewed out. So there is an argument to be made that yes, even a private company that has to decide whether or not they want people on their organization should in some way try to manage or at least reduce the amount of dangerous speech, hate speech, or big swinging dicks that occur on their thing, if it's something that is going to potentially reach millions, if not more people, right?
What you're saying, if you aren't breaking a law,
By the way, the
and
government is doing it.
if you are breaking a law, there's the government there to prosecute you for breaking a law. I don't need somebody at Twitter to go and enforce a law. There's already states attorneys. There's already just attorney generals. There's already
We know the government.
suspensions.
You have this platform.
What is this fucking, like, every single episode now? Like, I know Kurt Metzger. We've had our time with Kurt Metzger, but who the fuck are these two? It's like, all right, and now cut to the Dream Team, as they can give us some really interesting color commentary on what we should all be believing now.
Form that everybody was drawn into as the new medium of communicating political ideas and dissent. But they also have a lot more control over you this way. They can turn you off. They can hit a switch and you're gone. Elon himself
Yeah, and this is not as much of a free speech issue as it is a capitalism issue. Why do only a handful of small companies control the entirety of the internet? That's the problem here. It's never the focus from all the fucking bozo left. The bozo left are always like, more free speech, but they censored this guy and they don't allow this guy, but I like this guy, so he's got speech. It's the speech I like. I like speech. My kind of speech. So that's the only speech I care about. That's the only analysis you're going to get. Maybe the bigger problem here is the fact that like most industries are dominated by a small amount of companies, you know? It doesn't matter if it's food. Food is what, 11 companies and corporations control the majority of the food that we all consume. Media, 6. Internet, 5. Airlines, 5, maybe 4 now. Beer, 2. Like that seems to be a problem with every single industry, no matter where you look. No one's talking about the free speech of suddenly a beer company wants to drop a line. They're like, oh, that sucks. We lost a beer. It's not like, but we lost speech. That beer company no longer produces my favorite brew. That is a loss of speech. It's like, well, that one wasn't profitable and not enough people bought it. And that multinational corporation just doesn't want to produce it anymore. Yeah, that sucks. It kind of seems like there's more to this too, you know?
So
I'll take it because it's Facebook. Oh, by the way, I should have did this story today. Twitter, what's it called? TikTok suspended us. They don't tell you why.
Yeah, it sucks. Again, happened to me too. But like, you are giving them all the power. Every single person who keeps doing this thing where they try to reframe it as like, we have to get them to understand they should allow all of the speeches, all of them. Don't let any of the speeches be left alone. They shouldn't take away this speeches, that speeches. Like, you could play this game all day. Honestly, you could be like, yeah, it really sucks when this person got knocked off. This person's great. That person's bad. This person's good. But none of that is going to like, you don't ever have any more control through this. You don't ever get to suddenly be the one in power, unless of course an Elon Musk comes along and he happens to be super far right and fashy and agree with just wanting Nazis and pedophiles on the platform. Then okay, yeah, you won a victory there. Yeah, that one is the true free speech because it's got all the Nazis and the pedophiles. That's the best one.
They can't just go, I don't like your business, so that's a private company, but they're a public utility. Go ahead.
Why is it exactly? And if you use the phone to harass somebody and you get taken to court and you lose, you have to pay whatever the price is for losing that lawsuit, but they don't turn your phone off for life.
That's right.
Right? Once you pay your debt to whoever you owe it to, you get to talk on the phone again.
That's
right?
right.
You don't have permanent bans.
Right. Whenever you bring this up to liberals, all of a sudden they become instant libertarians. All of a sudden they believe in the sanctity of private corporations to run their business any way they want, because they've done polling on this, and they are the most pro-censorship sector of society, which, as Keaton says, they don't want to admit that in the end they support that. That's what's so terrifying.
So it's the liberals that run all these tech companies, and it was also the liberals who, while running a lot of these tech companies, apparently were giving a lot more leeway to the right-wingers. It seems like the right-wingers were actually getting a lot more of, when we look at the actual statistics and data, they were getting more exceptions to the rule. Their speech was being silenced less than people on the left and liberals themselves. So again, I don't think that's 100% just that one team is super censorious. It's like, oh yeah, well, libertarians, they want everything. I mean, libertarians just want freedom for everybody, right? You know, except for people who happen to disagree with us. We don't want freedom for them.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This show is produced by amazing people like you, and if you want to help us out, please consider donating over at patreon.com/theserfs. The show is made possible thanks to Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Cady, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Lamidia Panza, Matthew Scarborough, Multimondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Papi, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Sir Nickus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demo, Tech Tink, Trevbot EXE, Words Greenwood, and not to mention all of the amazing and fabulous people you now see before you.